Hello YouTube world, Mac Daddy 1911A1 here with the Shade Tree Survivals. This will be video 2 of my legacy designs from back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s and so forth, when Uncle Fester and I and my brothers all sat around on Uncle Fester's porch every day and compared drawings we'd done the night before, or drew new drawings of new characters and vehicles and so forth. And today we're going to concentrate on an enemy combatant and his aircraft. I'll go into him in a little bit because this aircraft that you are looking at, it has a special place in my heart. It's been one of my all-time favorite designs that I made up, and it's based loosely on the Focke-Wulf 190 of World War II fame, specifically the earlier models before the long-nosed Dora model came out toward the end of the war. And the principal character would be a Baron Dietrich Von Schmitt, and the character was originally developed by Uncle Fester, and his name was Baron Von Snitch. But I wanted a more true Germanic name, and Schmidt was the name I used. It closest matched the name he had come up with. But he was a fighter pilot, and later on a commander and so forth, and a military genius. And this was the design of the very first aircraft, and there are many versions of this aircraft that I drew over the years. Some were pretty damn good, some sucked butt. But you can see it has a machine gun or auto cannon here, as well as a auto cannon at the rear for rear defense. And this is not the first and only drawing of this particular one, and I'm going to pause the camera and dig out another one. Okay, and this was the Mark II version of the same aircraft, a little bit beefed up, a little larger. And I tried to make a little wolf looking thing on the nose. It didn't come out too hot, but it was a great design, even though I wasn't too particularly proud of the Mark II version of it. What I did do on the Mark II version is this here. I wanted to show you what the internal guts of it looked like, which I had no freaking idea. Damn it. I wasn't looking at the camera, I was looking up there. The way the light's shining. Here, how about that? Makes it a little better. But yeah, I wanted to show you the layout of the pilot seat and the controls up here, and then the cannon up front, and then you had the engine, and I guess this was supposed to be a fuel tank. That was an extra fuel tank. You had bombs here. It was air cleaner up here. I mean, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but it was a lot of fun. And why in the world I'd put a gauge here is beyond me, but what the hell. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed the design and the layout of it. I always wanted to know how crap worked, and I thought that would be a great illustration. And this is not the only one of this aircraft, but this is the Wolf Falcon Mark II, and it has the K94F engine. It don't look to me like too successful a design, but I had no idea what I was doing. It was a lot of fun anyway, and that was Mark II. Okay, so for several years I did not do anything to the aircraft at all, and then out of the blue I did this one. Completely modernized and updated. You now have the forward-facing cannon here coming through the propeller hub. It is now turbine-powered, as witnessed by the intake of the turbine. You have two cannons in the wolf's eyes. You have the Nazi emblem and the Germanic cross, which is not too Germanic if you ask me. And of course I didn't know anything about these damn things, but I put the exhaust for the turbine here at the rear. Still have the rear-facing gun. And now we have guns in the wings also, so very heavily armored and armed. That one didn't last too long, and I came out with a different version of the Mark III, and that's what it looks like. And it was a very fast hash. I really didn't do too good on that, really. But you notice it has a propeller hub, and now you've got cannons firing out like this. Actually, I think that was supposed to be an updated Mark II, and this is the Mark III. And this is a, well, let me get my darn pages here squared away. This would have been the internal of that, and so you actually had a Gatling gun running through it. And of course you've got your little turbine engine and all. It doesn't show anything with the transmission and all. You got guns in the wings, you got your wing tanks, your mechanism for your auto cannon at the rear, and it doesn't even show the cannon coming out the Wolf's eyes, but they're supposed to be. And it's a 150 caliber in the Wolf's eyes, as shown here. Horrible, terrible, but it was, you know, that was back in the day, and back then I didn't date all my stuff. And finally, the definitive Mark III version, I just didn't really, this one didn't last too long. It was a really crappy picture, be honest, just flat out honest with you. Really crappy picture. Let me pause the camera. Okay, and this, I think, is supposed to be a Mark IV. It may have just been a mock-up, but I don't have a Mark IV in my records anywhere. Got the more aerodynamic propeller hub with the cannons all the way around it, which is absolutely infeasible, but what the hell, the cannons in the eye, where there's no wolf on the side, and you've got a wolf's head with the wings, and then this is the rise of the Fourth Reich. But anyway, that one didn't last too long. And then we came out with the Mark V. Okay, this was on January 23rd, 1988. I drew this one. And there's the date and my signature. And this one did not last very long at all. And I went ahead and made a Mark V M32A1 model. Went crazy with it. This is one version of that aircraft, and you can see there's some slight changes. Then on the March the 5th, 1988, I did another one. I was just in love with this airplane. Just wore it out, and that was the last one for many, many, many years. Let me double check. So this is the definitive model, the Mark 7E, and you can see it's much improved over the previous models. Actually makes a little bit more sense. No cannons out the propeller hub, but you still have these here, and cannon in the wing root, and air-to-air missiles, rocket pods, and so forth. And this is the very first aircraft that I actually did. I also did in 3 dimensions, and that took some doing. I think that this coming weekend I may sit down and actually try to do an updated version of these, but this is one of my favorite aircraft designs that I did, and here is a better shot, but you can see it's not quite square and straight like it should be, and that's one of the reasons I think it'd be a good idea to do an updated version of this thing. But yeah, that is one of my legacy designs, and this one was drawn in 04. So about 14 years ago, give or take, almost. December 14th, 2004. But anywho, that is part 2 of my legacy designs, and part 3 will be up next, and it will be enemy personnel.